impact on the views or on the thinking of the people in the present India than compared to ancient Indian stories?
I think the big issue there is really that the more recent the story, the more dangerous the territory. That's the truth. I mean, you've had some wonderful books on Shivaji, which have ended up getting banned in places like Maharashtra. So, if you take, I can't remember who it was who said that a mythology is simply a religion which no one believes in anymore. So when you cease to believe in a religion, then you start calling it mythology. The way I see it is that it's easier to go back to the times of the Mahabharata or the Ramayana because they are so ancient that there is no fear of trampling on anyone's modern sensibilities. That is the primary reason why you're not seeing many of these stories coming out. I think there are a lot of story ideas available in people's heads related to more recent developments. But they come with that proviso attached. They come with that statutory warning at the bottom of the secret box that please note writing about Shivaji can be injurious to your health. So I think that is really what it boils down to. But I think we are finding a meeting ground as time is passing by. So, for example, my second book, Chanakya's Trump, was actually not really that ancient. I mean, we were talking about the Mauryan Empire, 323 BC, 2,300 years ago. So you're not talking about an event like the Ramayana, which is 7,000 years. And I think as we start accepting more and more of these stories, and as it becomes an accepted thing, you may also find more recent stories emerging with less of fear in the minds of the writer to actually be able to retell those stories. I think it's a matter of time. But if you see the events that have happened in India over the last 5 years, I would say that they are not very conducive to openness in accepting stories which deal with our immediate past. So, for example, I mean, you see the sort of situation which was created around Salman Rushdie and the Jaipur Lit Fest. You see the situation that has happened with Vishwarupa. You see so many countless cases that have happened where I think we are challenging creative liberty, creative freedoms. So I think to a certain extent in the last few years we've taken a step back, and I hope that something or the other will prompt us to take that leap forward, which can compensate us for the lost time, because we have lost a little bit of time in terms of total creative freedom. In our country where we've had so many versions of stories. I mean, there is a version of the Ramayana which probably Rajiv will know, which is the South Indian version of the Ramayana. The South Indian version which talks about Ravan as the good guy.
Yes.
So there are stories which were willing to accept. There are stories which were what we consider to be the good guy was the bad guy. And similarly, in ancient history also we've seen it. I mean, if you take, for example, let's say the fact that in Zoroastrianism you had the Ahuras and the Daivas, and they are the exact mirror opposite of the Asuras and Devas in the Sanskrit Vedas. So to that extent, we have been much more accepting in ancient times of that okay, fine, my God can be your devil and your devil can be my God. We have had that understanding, but somehow we have developed a higher level of intolerance in the past few years, and I don't know what is causing it. So that to my mind explains the reason why you don't see too many stories in the recent past. By that I mean, let's say the last 500 years.
Mr. Menon, is there a subject that, say, you would want to touch from a 10-foot long pole when it comes to history or mythology?
Yeah, there are several subjects I would want to touch, but adding to what he said, what Mr. Sami said, see, the thing is that I think a lot of heroes and villains that are represented in history, even our recent history, depending on which side of the political divide you stood, is very important. Like even the character I use, Indra, if you look at him in Persian mythology, he is described as a demon of apostasy, and he's a destroyer of culture and a destroyer of secular. So it really depends on these protagonists and antagonists depend on which side of the political divide you stood, or which end of the sword you were facing. So I think I would say that I would like to touch recent history for precisely this reason, because you don't know who you're going to offend. And at the end of the day, my business as a writer is to entertain people. I mean, that's what I'm looking at doing.
I will add one more to here. I think there is uh, there is a primary objective which is to entertain, because if you don't entertain, in any case your books are not going to sell. I think there is a secondary objective which is to educate, which I have always tried to do through my work, because even at the risk of making it less mass in its appeal, I've always tried to also make sure that when you finish reading a book, you feel that you have also picked up something along the way. And of course, I would say that the third final objective should be to enlighten. So maybe you should pick up one aha moment from the book and say, oh, I never thought about it that way. So, for example, I've had hundreds of people writing to me because I compared in the Krishna Ki, I compared Shiv and Vishnu. And I say Shiv and Vish are actually two sides of the same coin. And honestly speaking, if you really look at it, if you take, for example, the Big Bang, and you say that the world was created from that single point, then the expansion of the universe happened, and then we know that it eventually leads to a big crunch. The Big Bang will eventually lead to the big crunch, where you will go back again into that little point of energy. And maybe the expansion of the universe is Vish, and the contraction of the universe is Shiv. One is a process of creation and one is a process of destruction. Now, those sort of things we could not talk about at a certain point of time, but today there is a leadership which is willing to accept it and think about it. So I think the moment we have a leadership which is much more enlightened, maybe 10 years from today, I think some of these great stories which they are talking about will start actually happening.
So today we are talking of today we are talking about tweaking with history and mythology and working around them. I want to say that fiction is fabricated around the patches of reality. When we look at there is one Gangasagar Mishra in Chanakya Chain.
Yes.
So now that fiction is built up in a place called Kanpur. This Kanpur is a reality.
That's right.
Mahabharata is said to date it 3,500 years back. Now when, okay, in your own language, 3,000 years back there was an author, Ved Vyasa, who wrote Mahabharata.
Yes.
Down the line 3,500 years after, there is an author, Rashmi Sanghi, who went on to write Krishna's Ki and Chanakya Chant. Now Krishna's Ki is related to mythology. Chanakya Chant is history. Now when we talk about playing around with them, I believe that the facts are there stated in the right way. Now, Chanakya went on to teach at Takshashila. Now, whatever conversation he is having with his student at Takshashila is definitely going to be a work of fiction.
Of course.
We again build around a story on the same facts with Gangasagar Mishra.
Yes.
When we talk about mythology, there are evidences that stories go on to become legends and then myths.
Yes.
So, are we saying that this is the trend which we are seeing now, or this was something which was 3,000 years back also?
You know, the one nightmare that I had, that the world is under attack from aliens. The world is destroyed. And all the books and all the written knowledge of the world is destroyed. And the only book that remains is the Krishna Ki. Now, I'll tell you why. The reason why it worries me, the reason that it worries me is because if this world was then, once imagine that there is 200 years of nothingness, and then humans once again emerge. And then there is some Indiana Jones type archaeologist who goes and discovers the manuscript of the Krishna key. When he reads it, what is he to say? Is he supposed to say that this is fiction? Or is this real? So to a very great extent, the stuff that we talk about, the distinctions that we make between mythology and history are our own distinctions. Take for example the story of Chanakya. We know that Chanakya wrote a lot of stuff. I mean, Arthashastra, the Niti Shastra was all authored by Chanakya. In fact, not necessarily by Chanakya, but by a person called Kautilya, whose real name was Vishnugupta. It is only through the Panchatantra that we are given the clarification that Kautilya and Chanakya were one and the same person. So, I mean, the Panchatantra could be wrong. But even though Kautilya wrote a lot, there was very little written about him. So, the only piece of work that we have about Kautilya is a Sanskrit play written by someone called written by Vishakadatta, sometime around probably 900 odd years after the lifetime of Chanakya. So again, when you're reading that, you have to wonder that how much of the life story that we treat now as history, because we've seen it on the Doordarshan serial, we now treat those parts of Chanakya's life as history. But they all come from a Sanskrit play which was written 1,000 years later. How much of it is real? So, I must tell you honestly, the only comparison that comes to my mind is the Hindu concept of Maya. That everything is an illusion. And so, even when you're reading what you consider to be history, of course, it's an old proverb that history is written by the victors. So, history depends upon which perspective you're seeing it from. And I agree with Rajiv's view that history tends to be more dangerous. But to my mind, the distinction between history and myth is an unreal one. It's a distinction which we are trying to impose, but I don't know whether it's real.